Hi guys and gals, welcome to Miyagi Mornings, episode 85. Today's show is about doing your own research and questioning everything. Something that is apparently wrong think and dangerous and evil in today's world. What spawned this episode of Miyagi Mornings was somebody sent me a link to a story I'd read a few months ago by Forbes magazine. And the title of the article was Why You Must Not Do Your Own Research When It Comes to Science. Now, I want this episode to be about more than science. I want it to be about everything and anything. But I want to start out by explaining something about what science is and what science isn't, if it's actually science. And this is a good one to share with your friends and neighbors that maybe aren't into prepping and the other stuff that I talk about. This is something I believe that every American needs to hear. And I'm going to try to keep this one short, 7-ish minutes. Science is not an institution, and science is not an authority. If you look at science as an institution or an authority, or the people giving you information they're calling science see themselves as an institution or an authority, you know you're not dealing with science. There might be scientists involved, but that doesn't make it science. I'm a pretty good mechanic, but if I am telling you about a book, it's irrelevant. It's not mechanics unless the book itself is about mechanics. You see what I'm saying? Science is a process. Science is a process that was designed to take away authority by fiat. That's what it was. Science was, we're not going to simply accept this explanation because the king says so, or a pope says so, or a priest says so, or a tradition says so. Instead, we're going to test the belief and look for repeatable results. And if those repeatable results are there, then we confirm a thing, or at least we know more about a thing. And if they're not there, then we don't know. And we don't pretend that we do. It's a very simple thing. When I read that article the first time, again a few months ago, all I could think of is the majority of my science teachers from my past are probably dead by now. They probably passed on because they were, older than me, 30, 40 years ago at this point, right? So, but I just think of and maybe she's still around, just a pleasant old lady, I would bet if she still is. But I just think of Miss Bosang, and I just wonder if she is passed away, if somebody were to stand over her grave and read that headline, if she'd not spin in her grave, honestly, because I learned from her all the way back when I was in 10th grade science class, for God's sakes. Science is a process. Science is a process. And if you can't repeat the results, then you can't claim that something has been confirmed by science. Very simple. Well, this should be true in all walks of life, but I want to talk about the other side of this now. And I want to point something out. I am not bringing up any specific issues today, nor taking a side on any specific issue, because the second I do that, the purity of this message will be lost. Because if I bring something up you agree with, you'll say, yep, see, he's right. And if I bring up something you disagree with, you'll say he's a quack, he's nuts, he's wrong. Which is completely against what I'm trying to teach you today, if you don't already understand and know this. Because there is another side to questioning everything, doing your own research, coming to your own logical conclusions. And that is that you need to do that before you go spouting off at the mouth about something, sharing shit on social media, making claims about a thing before you know anything about a thing. Because what I have found to be consistently true, you can take any hot button issue with people shrieking at each other online today. And if you just grab two people at random from the two sides shrieking at each other and said, sit down, shut your mouth, here's a piece of paper and a pencil, write down everything you know about this thing. You actually know about this thing. Not what you think, what you actually know. Write it down. 5 minutes later, you'd come back, you'd see two people staring at it like an ape trying to comprehend calculus with blank sheets of paper in front of them. They literally do not know jack shit about the thing they're shrieking about. They've both chosen a side. And that brings me to something I don't usually do with these episodes. I usually pick a quote from somebody and I put it as the cover, the thumbnail of the video for the day. And I just let it speak for itself. Today I'm going to read the one I picked because I picked it for a very specific reason to go with this one. It was by Stephen Fry, who said, a true thing poorly expressed is a lie. And what that means is even if you choose, because most of you, you're choosing just because, So you might as well flip a coin into which side you're going to pick. And if you happen to pick the right side, but you go out making your case with no facts, no logic, no reason, nothing hard that can be backed up, no place you can say, look, here's why I believe what I believe. Here's where it says this thing. Here's where it is. Here's the credibility of the source. By the way, here's the other side of the information. Here's what I would say if I was on that side. And here's why those things are wrong. And I've actually, unless you have that when you make your case, I was originally going to put my own quote in this one. And what I was going to say was that truth poorly expressed is the greatest enemy of the truth. And I started thinking about it, I said, you know what, that's so profound. I bet you somebody said a version of it before. It turns out Stephen Fry made it more simple. A thing poorly expressed is a lie. A true thing poorly expressed is a lie. What does he really mean by that? He doesn't mean that it actually isn't true. He means it might as well be a lie, because no one will believe it. No one will believe it. So this is kind of what I see as the rules for anything that you are told that you are then going to base decisions in your life on going forward. Assume it's wrong. That's rule one. Now, try to prove it right. Then, counter the argument again and try to prove it wrong. When I was in school, I was in debate class, right? And what we had to do in a debate class was prepare to debate an issue. And then when we came in the day of the debate, they would say, okay, you're pro. Shit, I'm not. I'm anti this thing. But I had to debate it to the best of my ability, much like an attorney would take up the case of somebody they figured was guilty, but they owed it to them to give them the best defense legally possible. Correct? Okay. If you can't do that with an issue, if you can't take either side of the debate and make a compelling case for it, assuming it's not something stupid like the earth is flat, right? I don't think you need to be able to make a compelling case that the earth isn't flat in 2021. You know you're dealing with a mental midget in that point, and I don't mind bringing that issue up, because if you're like, oh, he's crazy, the earth really is flat, I'm not talking to you. You're not part of this discussion, right? So unless it's something like that, if it's something that actually has two legitimate sides discussing it, you should be able to come at it from either side and make a case for or against it. And if you can't, you do not understand it. I think that's better advice than you must not do your own research when it comes to science. Folks, science is not an authority that exists over you, and government should not be seen as an authority that exists over you. And no institution other than your religious institution of choice should be seen as an institution that holds authority above you. You are a thinking, breathing, brilliant human being, and assuming that you can read, you have access to more information than was contained in the entire Library of Alexandria before it was destroyed. In the words of my late father-in-law, who was a brilliant and good man, please use your God-given brain. Jack out for the week. Remember, if you want to catch all of these episodes in podcast form, the Miyagi Mornings weekly recap is released every Saturday morning, and this Saturday will be no exception.